Hi Kunal, how are you? Thanks so much for taking your time out, to do this short interview with us. Um, I believe that you are still, even though you're working from home, you are still working as per normal hours, unlike many of us. So that's actually a good thing. But yeah, thanks once again, and I look forward to having a good, engaging conversation with you.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I'm working from home, and it's I would say in terms of work, it's been pretty similar to like the pressure what it used to be in office, and now everything is like gone as per as per pretty normal, and we are getting used to it. But having these kind of conversation once in a while is very interesting, and it like talking about my B school days brings back some good memories. So yeah, I'm definitely very happy to speak on it.
So we are going to dive very deep into your B school days and pre-B school days.
Yeah.
So hopefully it de-stresses you a little bit from your pressure of
Yeah.
work, right? So let's get into the conversation. I think the first and the most interesting question would be, right? You did your masters in finance at London Business School, and you are in London right now, working in London right now since about 3 years. But
Yeah.
can you give us a slight, brief background about your pre-masters education and work experience, and then also what really, uh, got you to go ahead and do the masters at LBS in Masters in Finance?
Yeah, sure. Uh, so let me start let me start with my graduation. So I did my undergrad in DU. I actually studied geography, and so studying geography, I kind of after I did pretty good. I secured third rank in my college, and but studying geography, I was sure of one thing, that I was not really interested in geography. So at least it helped me discover one thing. So now,
Right.
I had to do something, right? So that was pretty early in my career. I was what, hardly 21, 2021. So I started exploring resources, so I basically wrote the exams for masters in economics and law. I was so but finally, I got into NISM, that's National Institute of Securities Markets. So
Right.
it's an institute run by SEBI. So I did a 1 year, uh, it, it was like a masters in finance from there. And so that's where so I basically got into finance. Like, to be honest, that time it wasn't planned, but it was
Uh,
just like something that happened. So
Correct.
while there, I think I was very lucky to land into one of the most coveted roles that came during the college placement. So
Okay.
so basically, I got the role of a derivatives quant at market. So which recently the company got acquired by IHS, so it's IHS Market now.
Okay.
So so I worked there for a couple of years, and it was a very technical role, and it gave me a very good exposure of financial derivatives and overall how the finance industry works. And
Sure.
during my time at market, I did the CFA. I cleared all the three levels of CFA, and
Okay.
at the same time, I also did the FRM, which is it's like it's a very detailed course in financial risk management.
Correct.
And working there for 2 years, then I moved to KPMG. So till at market, I would say I was more of a technical guy, like actually doing the the getting my
This
hands
process.
dirty, like actually doing the work. And but yeah, as on a move to KPMG, I think I got a little more senior. I was a senior consultant there, and I started getting more into business. And
Okay.
actually, that's where I realized some of the opportunities. So I started the CVA business there, and working with my manager, I got approval for like 4 new headcounts. So
Okay.
I got involved in recruitment. I basically went to this DTU, and we hired 4 people and we started a new team. So during these times, like I would say that was when I felt that probably a need for a higher course would help me, because get further, more more understand the business and actually take up more managerial positions, and actually help me make them move from being a hands dirty technical guy to someone who can actually manage a team and understands the business. Yeah, so that was it. By the way, let me tell you a very funny story that happened. So
Okay.
I was really coming from a geography background, it was very lucky for me to get into such a coveted role. So actually, while market came for placements in our company, so the HR said that we don't want engineers. So
Okay.
yeah, so everybody was surprised, and I would say probably 20% of the crowd was from ITs, and the rest maybe overall 60 to 70% were like engineers, right?
Correct.
So and then I was among the rest, I was probably one of the best, so it was very easy to otherwise for me to get in. And after working for an year there, when I asked my manager that what happened, you asked only for non-engineers. So he said that that he was like, I didn't say that, it would have been a confusion. I asked he asked the HR to get somebody with a finance background, not a core engineer, and that was a misunderstanding with the HR, which got me my first role, and that's where I would say uh,
That's where the journey began.
it started.
Yeah, so I think a very interesting question that I have for you, which is slightly towards more focused on your undergrad. Like you mentioned that you did a degree in geography, right?
Yeah.
And you know how the stereotypical Indian parent is, mera beta, my son will become an engineer, my son will become a doctor, wo dhanda, he'll study a BCom or BBA or whatever it is. That's the
Yeah.
stereotypical Indian. So just out of curiosity, why did you want to pursue geography, and how did it go down with your parents? That's what I want to know.
So actually, even for me, the stereotypical mindset, creeped in. But I would say it was not the engineering thing. But my dad was more of my son would do an IAS, right? He should do the
Oh,
UPSC. Okay, so and just it was just like 4 or 5 years before, my youngest uncle cracked the UPSC studying geography. So then it
oh,
was he was like, yeah, geography is a very good subject. So no offense, he was really good at geography. But having said that, I think we should take a learning. Everybody not everybody can fit in the same shoes, right?
correct.
So for him, it worked out really well. He was interested, but probably I was not. So actually, I learned a lesson in life that that I should not blindly follow anyone. I should think about myself, my fit with the subject, or my fit with the role, and only then I should go for it.
I think that's very well put, because this is important in the Indian context, especially in the US. I studied in the US, and in the US, the the kids have, or the students have, the liberty to pursue what they want, at least at an undergraduate level.
Exactly.
Um, so I think in the Indian perspective, I think we were probably one of the first who have kind of seen someone who has pursued geography, which is a very unorthodox, uh, not typical line of study, and then move to finance. So having said that, I think I think you've really moved up from your story. It seems like you really moved up the ranks and everything. But from what we've spoken earlier, I'm aware you told me that you picked you got into Kellogg MBA, you got into an MIT MBA, but ultimately you landed up picking the LBS Masters in Finance. Now I want to ask you two questions. There's two parts to this. Why did you end up picking it? And the second follow-up question is, you mentioned that you wanted to move to a more managerial role from a technical guy role. So don't you think an MBA would have prepared you for more for a managerial role over a master's in finance?
So see, first, okay. So like while applying, I like your LBS was the only place where I applied for masters in finance.
Okay.
And because like yeah, I was looking for an MBA, and however, like I was not looking to move, like move my domain. I wanted to stay
Okay.
in like finance and especially derivatives. So which itself is a very technical field, right? So even if you are a
Correct.
manager there, like you need to really understand the technicalities, right? So you cannot have
Correct.
somebody working for you and you can manage them if you don't really understand the products. So 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 that was the reason. So see, yes, I applied for all the MBAs, and that was the reason. However, LBS was the only place where I applied for master in finance, because based on my based on my research, I saw that LBS masters in finance is, I would say, is more of a finance focused MBA. Because see, first of all, it's a post experience, and actually I would say in terms of number of years of experience, the LBS Masters in Finance is actually a little senior than the LBS MBA. It's just that the
Right.
people are primarily from a finance background, right?
Correct.
Second is the placements happens together, right? So for all the roles, the MIF guys and the MBA guys are eligible. However, yes, for strategy roles, or or some marketing roles, maybe MBA guys would have a preference, but I anyways was not looking for that, right? However,
Correct.
for finance roles, based on my discussion with the alums, I was pretty much I pretty much knew that you are at par, or maybe like in some cases even the MIF guys are preferred, right? So for
Mm.
me, it was
Mm.
like for me, first I could get an MBA, and second it was the LBS Masters in Finance is not like a other like the MIT Masters in Finance, which is very technical, because it's in a B school. It is like you can actually tailor it to make it like a very strategy focused, or like whatever you want to. But for me, I think it was a good fit, because like first coming from a technical background, I I could not completely move out of like technicalities. So
Mm.
I could work more on my technical skills. At the same time, being in a B school, I can I can acquire the other networks, and other things which would help me move into a more managerial position. And other things which are very important was like the MIF was definitely much cheaper. And
Okay.
and why I choose LBS over MIT and Kellogg for this, like there were personal reasons. And like if everything was if I would have been a no if there were no other factors, I would have probably gone for MIT Sloan. But for I had a personal reason, was that I just got married, and
Okay.
my wife actually had an offer for a project in London. So
Okay.
if I was in London, she could work in London. But if I go to MIT, she would not even have a dependent work visa.
Okay.
So for
Fine.
me,
So,
like the choice was
combination.
very. And yeah, and another thing is like London is much more relaxed in visa restrictions. So after finishing your course, if you have a job, you you get a visa. So however,
Correct.
there have been many cases that even at MIT you get a job, but you have to come back because you don't have a visa. So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
there were lots of reasons which actually made me choose LBS.
Fair enough. So then I'm going to ask you one more question. Do you plan to do an MBA, or
I
you
think
think this is it?
no, to be honest, I like right now definitely that it makes no sense. Like to be like
Yeah.
see first I think in terms of see one of the main reasons probably which people go for an MBA is like which might not be like the primary reason, but it is like one of the popular reasons is like they look for like an improvement in their profile, and basically improvement in their compensation.
Or
But
like
I
a
still,
switch in the industry or something
yeah.
like
So, but for me, I don't think that that relative value make any sense, because, like, to be honest, I got recruited at as per like the par MBA levels, right?
that. Okay.
So an additional MBA, I don't think would make any sense. Plus, I have the B
Uh-huh.
school network, and like I would say I am kind of a very much finance focused MBA.
Fine. So yeah, I mean, I think that's fair enough because, in fact, we also like when I did my MBA at Oxford, and when we were doing, I think Oxford has a master's in financial economics sort of program, I think, which is very similar to your master's in finance at LBS. We saw the same kind of like like you said that if a bank came to hire for the MBA, a bank would even come hire for masters in financial economics. It's just that the strategy and marketing roles are the ones that the masters in financial economics guys never got recruited for obvious reasons. So that brings
So,
me to the next
so
question.
the one thing is like the Oxford Masters in Finance. Like I think it's a pre-experience course, and like people like recruiting there normally recruit for analyst positions, right? Which is like the normal normal masters courses in banks recruit for analyst levels or like but the MBA recruits recruit at associate levels. So all the
Okay,
structured programs. So like the LBS masters recruits for associate level. So basically, the level, all the like even if you go to consulting or everywhere, you basically start at an analyst level, right? Or like
correct.
a consultant level, right? But if you go from LBS or if you go from like the MIF or the MBA, you basically start at a manager level or associate level. So actually, so that's the reason like after my LBS I started as a manager level, or else it depends, but it's like that's the general thing,
So you actually stole the words from my mouth. I was just going to ask what would be the difference, because I would have assumed that you'd have done the comparison. But anyway, I think
Yeah,
you preempted what I was going to. That's fine. One important thing that I would like you to shed some light on in the LBS MIF program. Can you shed some light on your GMAT score and the average GMAT score of the class? Like, is it very is the GMAT score requirement much higher compared to an LBS MBA or any other MBA?
my GMAT score was 740,
Okay.
and it's actually tough to make a comparison because I would say it's pretty much at par. So like actually I would say the GMAT score, another thing that derives the GMAT score. So see, like as you know, like getting into B school is like it's not only the GMAT score, it's a
Correct.
very wide range of factors. So
Yeah.
GMAT score, I would say the other thing is basically I would say if I can club it as one term, it's diversity, right? So if you come from a very stereotypical background, normally it is observed that Indians need a little higher GMAT score, or maybe if you're coming from Peru, you can actually get in with a 650, right? Or
Correct.
if you, and then if you are a very stereotypical, maybe like ex-IT engineer from India, you would need you might need a much higher GMAT score.
Correct.
Otherwise, if you are an army veteran, who was placed in Vietnam, or or not Vietnam, but like maybe maybe you're placed in Iraq, you can make that diversity factor and even get in with I know people at LBS who got with a 580 GMAT.
In your class?
Not my class. So this guy was a couple of years senior. So actually,
Or what I
so
mean in your program, sorry, in the
he was
MIF.
he was an MBA. He
Okay.
was an MBA, and so not and I know him because he came during our I think one of the events, and I met him and we got friends, and then over drinks he told me that he was at 580. I was like, how can you
Okay.
come get in with a 580? But if you look at the rest of his profile, he was a gold mine. He was a director at a gold mine.
Okay.
So and so he had a very impressive profile.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
so I mean, so can you shed some light on also how important of your um, profile is for a master's in finance as well?
how important? Okay, so I think you want me to make a comparison between the GMAT score and the profile, right?
No, so GMAT score we've dealt with. I
Mm-hmm.
just want, okay, maybe you can shed some light on how did you build your profile to, kind of present yourself or present your application for the MIF at LBS?
Okay. See, I think the most important thing that any B school, be it for the MIF or MBA, they look for is that, see, you need to have a story, right? So you need to have a story, you need to have a growth trajectory, that how did you grow? And then you need to have a very clear, need, that why do you need an MBA right now?
Correct.
So I think for me, it worked really well because I could present a very good growth trajectory. And as you were surprised coming from geography, I think geography really helped me because
Okay.
it gives me a diversity factor. But that even coming from geography, I worked hard and built my build myself in finance. I did one of the the most coveted courses in finance, and how I grew inside. And then I could very clearly show that based on whatever I could do, I have reached till this place. But for the next step right now, I need to get I need to get a MBA or a MIF.
Okay.
So I think that's very important, that to make a profile, be it anything, for me it was finance, somebody can make somewhere else, right? So you just need to show that you have grown till now you need to do this, and that's why you need an MBA right now.
Fair enough. So I think now let's just move over to kind of your time at the school while recruiting for the job, and can you shed some light, number one, on the current job that you are, and number two, I think more importantly, it would be important, it'll be very helpful if you can talk about how you went over the entire recruitment process, right? And also if you can, kind of shed some light on, are there any particular industries in London or in the UK right now that are, kind of easy or difficult for international students, especially Indians, to get jobs?
Okay. Uh, I would say again in London, for some reason I was very lucky. So
Okay.
I got placed. I was like one of the first in my class to get placed, and I got recruited like just three months into the course. And that's where I would say the alumni based help. So basically what happened is so currently I'm a manager at EY. So
Well,
I'm a part of a team that's called QoS, that's Quant Advisory Services, right?
okay.
So and currently I'm leading I'm leading a project at an investment bank.
Okay.
It's an American investment bank based in London. So we are basically managing their model validation project. Uh,
Okay.
so how I got here, so I tell you, the current partner at my firm is an LBS alum, right? So basically what happened, LBS had very frequent some events and alumni drinks. So after one of the events, there were networking drinks, and I was just after every drinks I would just meet a lot of people. So I was just meeting with and talking to this guy, and he asked me as to my previous experience, what I used to do. And slowly I noticed that the conversations is starting to get a little technical, and I was like, why is this guy getting technical? And after some time we had a very good conversation. He asked me some specific problems which what he was working on, and and he told me if this is the case, how would you solve it? So it actually became a kind of a case study during a drink, right? So and I think for some reason I was creative enough, and I probably gave him some answers which he really liked.
Huh.
And and then he asked me, actually I did do something similar, would you want to work for me? I was like,
So,
wow,
so
somebody's offered somebody.
your
I was
interview
just
was
three,
a few drinks, is it?
yeah. So it was just 3 months into the course, and somebody offering me a job. I was like, why not? So the next day I have a call from the HR, and then then there was the proper recruitment process over two months, but finally I got it. So I actually got the job even before the proper recruitment season starts. So
Okay.
however, I did sit for some recruitments, but otherwise I can I can definitely I know the recruitment process, so I can guide you very well. I can so basically how it works is there is one you must you must have seen it as well. So there is one, the structured recruitment process, which is the banks come there for
Yeah.
first summer internship. You have the associate role, the consulting would come for associate consulting positions, which is again the summer internship role. After that, once you do the summer internship as an associate, if you perform good, you would convert it as a final offer. So which is, I would say, 80% of people normally convert. If you
Okay.
However, over here, I would say I think LBS LBS has a little advantage because being in London, it's easier for you to network, and normally LBS has a very good alumni base because, for you in Oxford, or for it's not very easy to come every time to London and attend these events, right? But for us, it's much easier. So I would say normally it's for all these structured recruitment, it's not only for LBS. It's it happens for all the B schools in Europe. So normally, I would say 50% of the batch is normally from LBS, which is which
Correct.
is which is from across Europe. The next is non-structured, if you don't want to get into these a consultant position, or into investment banking, then the other roles are specific for it, maybe you need to network with people, or there are firms coming with unique positions, and then you appear for their interviews, or otherwise you basically need to find opportunities, talk to people, and then basically make your way on your own, right? So I would
Correct.
say maybe 30 to 40% people, like actually maybe slightly lesser, go through the structured route, but the rest 60 to 70% people maybe make their own way.
So yeah, I think what you touched upon is kind of what I saw, though I didn't do the recruitment process when I was at Oxford, because I was pretty sure I wanted to come back to India.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you know, what you're saying is quite right, that at a master's, at at your level or at an MBA's level, it is very important for us to network, and also kind of open doors that way. You can't only rely on campus recruiting and the college getting you companies
true.
for where you can recruit. So I think that I think you are probably the perfect example of having networked immediately, and having
Yeah.
landed a job without even going through the formal process.
I was just lucky, but I have other stories who, my friends, or uh, at B school, who got kind of roles in a similar way. So
I mean, clearly, you can't expect a job. I guess it's very clear that you can't expect a job to come into your lap. You have to,
exactly,
really you have to define your own role. I think that's
true.
clear
So, so if you want something, they will not come and find you, right? You will have
you
to
have,
find them, and they'll tell them that yes, you are the right candidate and you exist,
yeah,
right?
correct.
Only then they
Yeah,
can offer you the job.
correct. So I think the second part of that question is, given your experience and given the current situation, not the COVID situation, but the kind of the Brexit situation, um, are there any industries that are
Yeah.
favorable to hiring international students, especially Indians, or are there any particular jobs where the demand for international slash Indian students is there?
Like that's a very tough question, and I would say it's very hard to generalize based on that. And
Okay.
I think it's actually in more than less, it's actually the person rather than his nationality. So it's
Okay.
if so it's if you if you want something, so you really have you I think it's very subjective. It depends on the person, right? And it's a function of a lot many things, right? So maybe your previous work experience, because to be honest, you would have seen the same thing. Just a
Yeah.
2-year MBA cannot change your life, right? So it's actually a function of your past experience, right?
Yeah.
Or else, if you want to change, maybe you did something for me, my past work experience. Yes, LBS gave me that door to actually meet that person and show myself that I exist. But it was actually my past experience that helped me. Otherwise,
Correct.
if you want to change roles, you need to have a very clear action plan, and you need to really work hard in while at B school and develop yourself so that you are fit enough for the role. Maybe like you come from, say, like in an IT background, or like you want to be a consultant, right?
Hmm.
So in that 2 years in B school, you really need to like solve a lot of case studies. You need to meet a lot of consultant, understand how the industry works, and only then you can get in. So I think it's like it's actually the person and how does he prepare himself for any role. And first of all, I think the most important thing is you have to be clear as to what you want. Like
Yeah.
otherwise, and then only you can work for that. If you're not clear on that, like you cannot just think that the B school would play a magic wand and you would get a job.
No, what you said, what you
However,
said
the
is
next
very
question
right.
was,
Sorry,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, I was just saying the next question on like industries, like what is favorable. I would say I don't think any industry as such like is favorable. Like if you are fit for an industry, I think like you have the chance. However, like what depends is the visa situation, right? So because we as like people from outside the EU, we need to get visas.
Yeah.
So it's like, so basically the thing is like, if it's a big established firm, it's easier for them to sponsor visas, right? But it's a small firm, it's a startup, or it's a small private equity. It's not so easy for them to even like, I know cases like even like, somebody who worked for a private equity, they really liked him, but they did not have the visa, like they could not sponsor the visas, right? So in generally, it is easier if you go for a big name who has a process and they know how to sponsor visa. For example, you go to Bank of America, like they have an established process. They would have a visa team. They will come to you.
Yeah.
They will take your documents. They will make all your they will make your application and you get it. If you go to a
Correct.
startup, maybe like who are working on some, say, like out of the like state of the art machine learning technology, it might be very interesting, it might be a very good pay, but possibly they might not be able to sponsor visas. So that's where it's like slightly, yeah, is like
So
that's what comes into play. But other than that, like yeah, it's similar.
no, I think what you said is very very true. That I think, and the most important thing for all students, and this is what I also saw in my class, that a lot of students were just going after all the jobs that were coming on campus, or trying to recruit for all the companies with no particular focus. And I think that's a very important point that you made, that to have focus is a key, because otherwise then you're just running around like a headless chicken, trying to look for whatever job you can get.
Yeah, it's like
You
you
know,
got limited number of shots, right? And every shot,
yeah,
every application takes a lot of
is-
energy, and you are
yeah,
you are not superhuman, right? So you should focus
correct,
all your power, all your efforts in a direction.
yeah. So I mean, just this is another question on the employment part. Now, the UK has kind of extended this post-study visa to 2 years. So, do you see that how is it going to impact employment opportunities for international students? Like, do you see it being a bane or a boon?
I definitely see it as a very positive step. And as I told, like just the previous question, that the biggest hurdle for international students was that like there would have been a lot of good opportunities, right? But they could have not they could not recruit for it because they could not have got visas. However,
Yeah,
this thing, like like this thing removes that hurdle, and I think it's a very big positive point. And like you would, so now you would just not be like you would not just lose a job for the want of a visa, right? So
correct,
if there is a job, you are the right fit, you are at level playing field with the Europeans,
correct.
right? So I think it's a very positive step, but like we still have not seen it like in action. So maybe like
Will
we
it
cannot
come?
say for certain, but like yeah, I expect it to be yeah, a very positive step.
Okay, good. Because this is a new, policy, and I think it's going to come into effect for the class graduating this summer, I believe. So,
Yeah, no, no, this summer or the next year? I think next year, right? I'm not sure. I think it's next year.
Oh, I was under the
Maybe,
impression it's this year.
maybe. Yeah, I'm not very sure.
Anyway. Okay, so one fun question. What was probably your favorite class, or class that stood out for you the most, or the project that stood out for you the most?
Okay. Yes. Actually, I have like classes and projects. I think I have loads to tell about that. Uh, so classes, I think. See. Uh, there were actually two. One was financial engineering because, like I coming from a technical background, I think I like that was where, like, to be honest, like quant finance, my interest lied, and I performed very well. And the professor was actually the head of PhD chair at LBS. So
Okay.
seeing me, he actually recommended me to do the PhD at LBS. So getting into like a top PhD is very tough. So I had like an open PhD offer. So but I had to repay the loan and everything. Like I was just married, I had to, like so I had these I could not do a PhD. So he told me that he actually told me that he can recommend me for the quant core of the PhD, which means that I actually do the PhD classes, but I don't do the research. So I have a few PhD electives in my, in my transcript. So I think that was a very good experience because I actually did like a couple of PhD courses. And
Okay.
so this was on the technical part. But next there was a course which is called negotiations and bargaining. And
Okay.
I think I really like that course because, like you would actually given a case and you sit with someone and you have to negotiate on it, right?
Yeah.
And I think I am very bad at negotiations, and so I think that's something I really liked because it was quite funny, like how interesting things can go. And there was actually a class which was based on salary negotiations, you know.
Correct.
So yeah, I think that these two courses are like something which I really liked. Another thing that I represented LBS at a global B school investment challenge, so which was at
Okay.
Chicago booth. So we were a team of four from LBS, both MBA and MS, and I was the VP at IMC, so I was leading the like investment management club. So I was leading the
Okay.
LBS team, and it was a very good experience. We competed with MIT Sloan, Chicago Booth, NCR, Georgetown, and some of the biggest B schools. And so first of all, it was a free trip to Chicago, and like so it was a good experience with friends, and really competing with the the top B schools. And so and we prepared it for 3 months. So it was basically you had to think of devise an investment strategy, and you had to invest on that strategy for 3 months, and then you have to show how it performed and what was the rationale and what steps did you take. So I think that was a very good experience, which I had at LBS. And yeah, there are plenty more. Like there's an LBS fest that is called Tattoo. I really enjoyed it. Even after LBS, last year, like I did the Three Peaks Challenge as a part of LBS Expedition Club. So which is like you go up and down the three highest peaks in the UK, which in 24 hours. So you go to Scotland first, then you go to Wales, and then you come to England, and the Lake District, and like it's very challenging. So yeah, so there are lots of things to speak about.
So good. I think that this is the last part of the conversation that I really wanted to speak about. We spoke about the whole classes being great, professors being great, recruitment being great, alumni network being strong. All that kind of stuff. But personally, apart from all these things, what was your biggest takeaway from um, your? Is it a 2 year course? 2 year 2 year course of Masters in Finance at LPS. I mean, leaving all this aside, apart from that, what really made your year or your 2 year or your experience at LPS memorable?
Uh, I think the number one thing I would rate is the contacts and networks that I had, and basically the friends or the professors. And so, and second is I think that's where, second thing is, being close to LBS, living in London, even now I am in touch. And when I, with the school, I get I I get asked to conduct alumni interviews, with,
Okay.
and then if there are some good events happening, I can just go to LBS. So I think so. This is an asset which I think it's not it's just a whole complete package, right? You have an access to a door where you can just get in, and if there's something happens, you can probably you can get something from there, right? So
Correct.
or so again I said like you don't go to B school for your immediate future. Like you if you go to B school, you should plan about 5 to 10 years or 20 years in the future, right?
It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime investment and lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. So I think even I have some plans for the next stage of my career if I want to do something on my own. I know people whom I can discuss, whom I can get opinions, or even if I want to raise money, I can I can reach out to people So I think that's like it's a whole package of asset which can help me at different stages in my career. I think you should be feeling the same way about Oxford.
I think you said it right. I mean, it's obviously about your classmates and the friendships that you make. That's very important. I think for you, it's worked out even better because like you said, LBS is right next to us. For me, it's unfortunate that I'm in India. I cannot visit Oxford as often. In fact, I haven't been back in 5 years. But now I think with the by leveraging technology. You can attend webinars. Like right now,
Yeah,
tomorrow, in fact,
true,
tomorrow I'm attending a webinar of how the situation like is going by two Oxford alums, what the situation might be after COVID ends. So as a strong brand name and a strong business school brand name, I think that's exactly what you said. Like how you leverage it, apart from that 1 or 2 years that you spend out there
true,
is
true.
really what is going to make you the difference going on in life. You know, so I totally agree with you that, and you meet people from around the world.
Yeah, completely
That
true.
when would I ever think that I would have a classmate from Bolivia?
Yeah, yeah, true, true, true.
No.
Just 2 months back, I went to I went to a birthday party of my friend. He's from LBA to George from MBA to Georgia, right?
Huh.
So we spent I with a group of like 8, 10 LBS friends. We spent a weekend in Georgia and hosted by a Georgian guy. So that was amazing. I
Yeah.
could have never thought I would be hosted by someone in Georgia. Then there,
Yeah.
a friend of mine is in Chile. He's calling he just had he was my basically uh, the score group group.
Course study.
Yeah, so he's calling me to Santiago, and and he just bought a new house with a swimming pool. He's like, come, we'll have fun. So these things are yeah, these things
Yeah.
are special.
I think that also is an integral and very important part of the entire experience going forward in life.
Yeah,
You know.
true,
So,
completely.
so I think that's all from my end. Anything else that I've missed out that you would like to add? Um I mean, anything in particular, if it comes to your mind, happy to, feel free to share it. But if not, I think we can wrap up this call.
Yeah, I think we discussed quite holistically, and I think it was a very good conversation. I could relive and rethink about those memories, and yeah, I think we covered most of the things. Yeah,
I'm glad
it
that
was a
you
good
were
call.
able to relive it. So anyway, thanks a lot, Kunal. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you taking your time and doing this for us. And
Thank you.
we'll definitely be in touch.
Sure.
Thanks.